We need to have Jay.
It is the instant match reaction. We are outside the Denby Castle. Everton have just beaten Sheffield United 1-0 in one of the most low-key football matches, gloriously low-key football matches I think I've ever seen. Joining me at the moment are Les Roberts and Keith Tomlin. There might be more. We might be expecting Ed McCosh, might be getting Dave Downey, but we'll see. It felt a bit like that today, Keith. You know, someone could have turned up, someone could have scored a goal. It might have happened, it might not. It was that sort of game, and I loved every second of it.
I've genuinely never been to a football match in my life where nobody cared what happened. Like, absolutely nobody in that ground. Like, the 39,000 odd in the crowd, the players, the officials, the St John's ambulance, nobody gave a shite what went on today. Like, nobody cared in the slightest what happened. It was a nice day out in the sun for everyone. They were down, we were safe. Nobody really tried all that hard. There was some nice little passing patterns of football. There was some excitable bits, but that was about it. And long may it continue, because I swear to God, that's the first time I've been to a football ground in around 3 years where I've not been having a panic attack, and I'm all for it.
Les, do you feel the same?
Yeah, I don't know if it was Matt who told me, but that was the first time, like, taken out of COVID since Allardyce, that we've had the last game at Goodison where there's been nothing riding on it, so there's been no pressure on us.
Wow.
I think that the timelines do seem to, like, match up there, so that's exactly what your final game of the season at home should be like. The sun's out, we're all in shorts, we've had a few beers beforehand. No one on the pitch is particularly bothered. No one in the stands particularly bothered. We won. It was nice. I mean, it was,
It was nice.
Sheffield United were terrible. That, you know, the fans, that they were like, you know, just celebrating the fact that they've gone down. They were chanting at one point, like, no VAR next season or something.
What I will say, and I'm quick to point this out every week when I come on post-match, is I will give credit to Sheffield United's fans here, because they were great. They had a lovely time. They had a great sing-song.
Yep.
Not one single poverty song from them.
No.
Which was lovely. And fuck VAR, which I can fully get on board with.
One song. Were they singing Bastards, Ole, Ole, Ole for Sean Bean?
No.
No.
What they were singing, Bastards Away, Ole, 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 as in Wednesday.
What's the contact?
Right, so they ran through that song and they sang the so-and-so away, Ole, 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 for every single team in the championship.
Oh, okay.
And I'm for it, because they were going for about 20 minutes and they went through the lot of them.
So it's just like an alphabetical list of teams in the second
They
tier.
they just picked teams in the championship and sang such and such away, Ole, Ole. Good on them. They had a great
Oh,
time.
it's like a badge of honour thing, like, I've been to this away.
That's what we've got next season.
That's where they're going.
So
right.
all I heard was Bastards, Ole, Ole, Ole. I thought it was like Sean Bean, because everything he's in, he's like, bastard. And I thought that's what it was, because he's a Blaze fan. But anyway, we digress. The Toffees. I think you mentioned, like, someone might turn up, someone might score. Decore did just that and nothing else. Today was a snapshot of how frustrating a player he is.
Fair play to Abdoulaye Doucouré for scoring the winner in a 1-0 win and still turning in an absolute 2 out of 10 game, because he was abysmal. He was so bad. It was so funny at times. But he was in the right place at the right time.
Again,
Credit to Calvert-Lewin for his work on that goal, though, because he's had a lot of stick this year. Deservedly so in some parts, undeservedly so in others. But that goal was his making. The run he made, the sort of the sight to see. He wasn't going to score on his left foot because his left foot's crap. So he took it wide of the keeper and put a little cross in. And fair play to him. And Doucouré was where he needed to be for the first time all day.
Yeah, I think Calvert-Lewin had a great game today all round. He played really, really well. Just on that goal, like, so there was the one he set up for Doucouré not long before that, where he took a lovely touchdown, knocked it across the box. Doucouré should have put it in the net somehow. A good striker there, improvising, dinks it over the keeper, who came out well. But for that second one there, I felt like 3-4 weeks ago, he tries to shoot at the keeper there. He gets the ball and he just hits it.
When he's not scored for a while.
When he's under pressure, and, you know, he scored a few goals now, and you could see he had more confidence today. He took it down, just took it wide, just took his time, waited for the runner, lovely cross. So it was nice to see. He's back to he's had a lot of stick this season. He's had a horrible season, but I think today it was like that's what we've missed from him. When he's good, that's what he's like, and he's a really good striker when he plays like that.
I'm going to bring Ed and Dave in now. Loads to unpack there from no one being arsed, Sheffield United chance, and serious Calvert-Lewin points. Probably should start with the Calvert-Lewin chat, really, Ed, because sorry, mate. I mean, have you got anything to add on the Sheffield United chant, or?
No, I've got no analysis. I think the man of the match is this pint I'm holding right here. But it's nice to see. It's always good to end the season feeling a bit of hope, because I think this time last year, obviously we were all jubilant because of the scenario, but we were all looking at the situation thinking, what the hell are we going to do? What is there to actually be happy about? But now, in real terms, in non-deduction times, we're pushing for top 10 in the league.
Agree with Ed on that, and that's something that, like, someone put a league table on Twitter earlier, and if we better Brighton's result next week, we won't because it's Arsenal away, but then hypothetically we'd finish 10th in the league, and you can't skate over the fact we went 3 months without a win, right? That deserves criticism, and there were very winnable games in that period. But would you have taken a top 10 finish, last day sliding to 11th at the start of this season?
Yes.
There's not one single Evertonian who wouldn't have bitten your hands off of that after the last 2 or 3 years of absolute nonsense. So credit to Sean Dyche where it's deserved. He's turned us into a solid, if unspectacular, football side, and that's what we need. That's what we all said we needed. So hats off to the man. But he does deserve stick for going 3 months without a win, because that was turgid.
Now is not the time for that.
I think the important thing is we're all here being very, very chilled. My smartwatch has been sending me messages saying, 4:30 on a Saturday, shouldn't your heart be going through the roof right now? Are you okay? I was like, yeah.
Have you died?
Honestly, it's just so nice. I was just sitting there having a great time. People around me were still moaning, but it's the park end. What are you going to do? Otherwise, I think it was just a nice game. It was a bad game. It was a bad game, especially the second half where we just gave up. And Sheffield United did nothing about it, because they are one of the worst teams I've ever seen in the Premier League. Absolutely so awful. I would pluck that Hamer off them if he was available. Apart from that, they could all go straight in the bin. But it's just, it's nice, isn't it? When's the last time you conceded the goal at home? I don't remember what it's
West
like.
Ham's breakaway one, wasn't it? In the 3-1. That was the last time we conceded.
Do you remember how upset people were getting when we didn't sign that Ben Brereton? I'm not going to call him Diaz because he's from fucking Stoke-on-Trent. Stop with your nonsense. You're not from Chile. Behave yourself, right? That might be one of the worst centre forwards I've seen at Everton, at Goodison, in my life. And there is a lot to digest there. But he was atrocious. Somebody pointed out as well in the replies on the tweet I made about it, there was a point where he was running down the left wing with the ball, trying to fix his hair at the same time. Can you imagine? Can you imagine what the park end would do to that man?
Honestly,
They would break him in seconds. Dreadful. And if anyone suggests we sign him this summer, then I call for an immediate ban from talking about football. Yeah, we're saying you're feral, angry feral beasts.
Did you even see the game?
Got off bang on 90.
I was going to say.
Yeah, got the train at 20:15 in the pub for like 22. That easy.
As usual, 3:05, isn't it?
Dave, good to bring you in. How did you feel about all that? Just like everyone said, probably not the podcast for deep analysis, but it was just very nice, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was lovely. Lovely summer's day as well. It's like you've sort of come in on some sort of vortex or something, doesn't it? When you consider, like, go back a fortnight ago, but we just got 13 points from 15. It's right, isn't it?
Four in a row.
4 home wins in a draw.
Five home wins in a row, isn't it?
That's right, but we got beaten between that. Anyway, whatever. Being decent at Goodison has just been mad, hasn't it? It felt like it never going to happen. And look, I'm sure we'll carry on all the way through summer about Dyche and what we do with him. He's obviously not going to lose his job now, but in regards to how that sort of comes on, but that's a discussion to have later on, isn't it, this year? I think I agree with what Keith was saying. And when I came in, he deserves immense credit for where we've come now. If you'd have said, go back a few games, lads, and you'd have said, you've got a bit of a party atmosphere at home against Sheffield United. The team, not only several weeks ago, were like, that's going to be a 6-pointer. We absolutely have to go and win that. When I wasn't asked if he put better one with no kicks on, it just would not have bothered me whatsoever.
Party's a bit of a stretch there, Dave. Like, let's be honest, that was the lethargy ball. I've never seen a crowd less arsed about a game of football.
It was like, do you know what it reminded me of in the sort of opposite way? Remember Leicester at home New Year's Day? That one that we infamously sort of mention all the way through a season, where everyone just wants to go home with absolutely bolted. This is complete opposite of that, and not being asked of a game as well. You get the impression that Dyche had a laugh before he picked this team. I would have liked to have seen him throw a few kids in and all that, but we banged on about that, haven't we? Seeing Seamus as well, I mean, I don't know what you think about what's happening with him. I know he said that he wants to kick on and stay. There's no way Everton get rid of him.
It seems like everyone wants him to stay.
He does himself, though. He said it himself, hasn't he? Apparently said it himself.
He's not wanting to stay. Like, it feels like it's one of them that will eventually just get sorted.
I'll call it now. He'll have one more year playing at Everton, and his testimonial game will be the first game before the start of next season. The season after next season.
Yeah.
Like, it'll be the first. It'll be that home game we have against Villarreal or Bilbao or Sporting Lisbon or whatever.
It's always someone like that, isn't it?
This
one's going to be Sligo Rovers.
The week before the season starts, that'll be his testimonial game. Everyone will get to give him a big clap at Goodison at the last game of next season, and the first game, inverted commas, of the season after, and then he'll just go and have a great time. I reckon he'll end up coaching at Everton.
Yeah.
He'll end up in the youth system somewhere, and he'll come through. And when Everton are like 17th in the league in 3 years with 12 points from 20 matches, everyone will be saying, "Oh, give it Coleman till the end of the season." Right? It's his destiny. It arrives all the same. But
that man will save us from relegation as a manager one day.
I'll tell you what, if he does, I'll kiss his head. What a fella.
No, you know what, with that though, it's like, it is really interesting you say that, because we all said the same about Baines, we all said the same about Ferguson. How many times Ferguson been caretaker manager? 3? Is it? Twice?
So there's that weird bit where he's doing like every game, wasn't there, for a while, like on a game-by-game basis, like freelancing.
When he put Moise Keane on, took him off, and he's never been seen again at
To
Old
be fair,
Trafford.
have you seen Leighton Baines' under 18s? They're terrible. Right?
He could still win a game himself, I reckon. He'd be better than Ashley Young right now.
I'd stick him in the team. Is one man who will never manage Everton, and I'll say it now, Leighton Baines. Leighton Baines will get bored of doing the youth setup, and he'll go off to play his guitar on the beach somewhere.
He goes jogging with him by yours, doesn't he?
I don't go jogging with him. I mean,
Leighton, look at his face now. I'd love
to go for a run with Leighton. Can we do one serious point? One serious fuzzy point. Calvert-Lewin, he was so good today. Like,
You thought you'd got away with that.
The first hour, he
You thought you got away with
was so good today.
Yeah,
his touch was immaculate.
Yeah.
Obviously sets up the goal really well. Les sort of alluded to how he's playing like a bit of a weight off his shoulders now. He's got 1 year left. We all have to sell players this summer. There is interest in him. I'm looking at him now, and I genuinely don't know what's a good sum to sell him for if we are going to sell him. Or whether we try really hard to give him a new contract because he's playing well. Yeah. Or do you think, well, look at his injury record over the last few years. There's so much to pour into this decision from so many different angles. But what do you think the club should try and do with him this summer?
The sad reality is that it probably needs to be sold. One, because he's one of the few players who could actually generate a decent amount of money. Secondly, because he generates pure profit because we got him for such a cheap amount.
Who's paying for him though?
I mean,
there'll be a lot of clubs who'd take him.
And how much are they paying?
We don't know. There's conjecture, really. We'll have to wait for the transfer merry-go-round to have a couple of turns before it gets to Dominic Calvert-Lewin. But if he wants to stay, if we can afford to keep him, that'd be great, because as much as form has been poor first half of the season, injuries have obviously scuppered him a lot. The sort of things he brings to the team, proper striker play, and that's what I thought, a real striker play. Timing runs beautifully, using his strength. I was amazed by Vinicius Souza, the Sheffield United centre-back, because he could not touch Calvert-Lewin. And normally you see centre-backs get into a player, you know, give him a knock, maybe commit a foul, but let them know they're there. Calvert-Lewin was just shouldering off every single time. I thought he just had great control of the game today. So it's frustrating because he's one of those players that has something a little bit special, which we don't have and we need. But they're the players we're going to have to sell. That's the situation we're in. We kind of know where we are now, and hopefully we can find more players for not much money who've got that little bit of something as well. Players like Calvert-Lewin and like Branthwaite, who we've managed to get in for cheap. So there's a lot riding on the summer, an awful lot.
I reckon we're knackered if he goes, because I don't see you get to replace him, given the fact we don't know how much money we've got. It's probably not on.
Everton also have a striker who's better than him in his best derby.
Exactly. But I think he's a striker that I would not. I'd put a high percentage on the fact that he wants to leave Everton. If you spoke to him privately, he want a goal from Everton.
Fresh start's probably best for him.
No, that's
isn't
exactly
it?
my point.
For him, as a professional footballer, a fresh start somewhere else where he can try and turn over a new leaf and like get back to his best. It's probably best for him, not for Everton necessarily, because what he brings to us when he's on. Look at the last sort of 3 or 4 weeks. The derby comes to mind especially, right? He was untouchable in the derby. Their centre halves couldn't get near him. They dragged one of them off after an hour because he couldn't touch him, right? When he's at his best, magnificent. The issue for Everton is how often have we seen him at his best?
That's two ways of his injury, and it's who he plays with. I mean, how many chances do you see him get per game? I know, take away recent weeks, how many chances if he's playing? Maybe once or twice in a game because we don't have much possession and things like that. I think if I was him, I'd be so pissed off. Nothing to do with the fans, because obviously we've all had issues with them and being, you know, the patience side that people have lost patience with them. But I feel as if that, like, if he's seen Sean Dyche come in as Everton manager, he wouldn't have liked that.
But also, Dyche has cracked getting him fit again, hasn't he?
Well, he has.
That's a big. I think that's. You know, I totally agree with what Keith's saying about maybe he'd fancy a fresh start. He's been at Everton for a long time, hasn't he?
How old do you know, Matt?
He's 27, is he, I think?
Is he 27?
Yeah.
I mean, he's in England. He's an England striker 3-4 years ago.
Yeah. Hang on.
I think if you're him, I'd be surprised, because he wants to achieve as a professional footballer. If you want to get the best out of your career, sad thing to say, and it might get ripped apart for this, but you don't want to be at Everton Football Club if that's the case of what you want right now. Exactly right now.
You're spot on.
Yeah, and that's the problem you've got with, you know, probably fits in with other quality players we've got, but he's our talisman still, isn't he? And it's the fact that he is says a lot about what the club's been like, and a reflection for him. If you're him right now, you're looking at this summer, you've got a year left, I'd be like, you're sort of holding Everton to ransom there and saying, look, I won't sign a new contract, so you're going to have to get as much as you possibly can for me, and I'm going to get off this summer. If that happens, the reverse of it, you know, it's a horrible thing to think about, isn't it? That if he leaves, how are you going to replace him?
Would you, like, next season, essentially, is a clean sheet. It's a fresh start. Would you change the entire system to try and complement him a bit more? Maybe stick a second striker up behind him.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent question.
Go to a two up front, because not many teams do that now, and perhaps it's a bit of a lost art. It's a bit of a throwback, but I feel like it's something Everton could work with, in having a deep lying striker to sit behind him to feed off. Because let's be honest, he wins a lot of headers.
Yeah, he does.
When we go long, when we go direct, he wins a lot of headers. Rather than having a midfielder like a Doucouré
is that not
to
what he's
feed
meant
off
to be,
that.
though? Is that what Doucouré's meant to be?
Would you not rather have a second striker? Like,
Doucouré's like a midfielder who plays as a striker as opposed to a striker who plays deeper, isn't he?
Yeah, but
he's Fellaini reincarnated.
Right?
Throwing this out as a wild shout, just based off the last couple of weeks where he's looked a bit promising, would you stick someone like Chermiti behind him in the number 10 role, where he can just drop off that back line, pick up the ball and feed off what Calvert-Lewin gives? Because a lot of the times this season, when Everton have gone direct, Calvert-Lewin's been winning these headers. You see the stats every week.
Yeah.
Aerial duels won 98% or whatever, right? The problem with that is there's fucking nobody around him.
Yeah, doesn't go to an Everton player.
There's nobody around him. Would you stick a second striker alongside him? It might be a wild shout in these times of overlapping fullbacks and trequartistas and whatnot, but 4-4-2, an Everton team.
He's never going to do that, though, Keith.
An Everton team
4-4.
in a 4-4-2 formation with a second striker who can then drop in and do the defensive work, which we've seen as well from Chimiti. The boy's got legs. The boy puts himself about, right? He's raw. He's still a kid. He's a young talent in a new league. But it's an option. Would anyone else go for that? I'd be all for it.
Yeah, I would. Sorry, I know you're going to say it's just a quick one. I would, but we don't have that luxury. That's the problem I've got with it.
For me, you go 4-2-3-1. You put Dwight McNeil in that 10 position behind Calvert-Lewin. You build that sort of strike force around Calvert-Lewin, because I think I said after the Forest game on one of the podcasts that, like, when we played Forest, I think Chris Wood was winning headers and their wingers were actually getting on the end of him. Yeah. That's all you need. You play your wingers closer to him. You have Dwight McNeil in behind him, because that lad is no longer a winger at all. He the amount of times he cuts inside, he ends up on the right hand side because he comes looking for the ball. I just don't think he can play wing. He's not particularly fast winger, but he can hit a good cross in. But the amount of time he drifts in, I think the fact that he can sort of shift it between feet, he's got a good shot on him. Mike Blakey always says this. He always puts up that picture of Billy Letternoff, who's like, who was...
Is this your new campaign?
Yeah, it is.
Is
it is. No,
but Tom Davis at right back?
Yeah, it's kind of that. No, but I do think he will be much better in that 10 role. With the squad we've got at the minute, I think he'd be better than Decore there. You put him there, you put Calvert-Lewin up front, and you got two wingers who actually look for the knockdowns, because Calvert-Lewin did it a few times today where he won the knockdown and no one ran onto it. So I think that's what we do with it. But on that evidence today, and it's a massive if he stays fit, if he can stay fit, which, to be fair to him, he has done for this season. I think, you know, he's better than Chimiti. Chimiti's young. He might be better one day, I don't know. He's clearly better than Beto, and given the situation with it, Ed McCosh just winced at me there. And so, you know, with what we've got, that's what I'd do.
I think the only issue with McNeil, well, I don't think it'd work positionally, but semi-seriously, if McNeil plays as a number 10, we have got no other wingers when Harrison and Danjuma go. So we'd have to sign probably 3 other wingers to go.
We don't play with wingers. I'd prefer wing backs, to be quite honest with you. We
got any of them?
And I was going to say,
well, that's the thing. That's maybe what we need to think about. We play centrally fairly well. We actually kept the ball quite well in the middle today. I thought Gray was superb at doing that, getting the ball and shifting it around. And maybe, you know, if we overload in the middle, it might be worth having wing backs to go in and get the crosses, and actually we've got more protection at the back. But I'm not Sean Dyche. I don't know about tactics, so that's something for him to work out. But I think we have to kind of plan based on the players we have right now, and that's the worrying thing.
Everyone's for sale as well, I suppose, in some senses. That's the issue, really.
Oh, in some cases, like Mason Holgate, we're hanging him outside and saying, someone take him, for God's sake. I tried to take him to the Oxfam shop the other day. They weren't having him.
Pushing him back on their coach on the way home today. Yeah, you're going back with them. But on Dom, I think for me, I would try and keep him. Like, I think we just invested so much in, like, I don't know what you're saying about profit and balance sheets and all that, and that is very sensible and pragmatic, and ultimately, I think it'll probably come down to that. But I mean, I'd like asking you tonight, what fee would be a good fee for him this summer? Which, like, I think it's so hard to put a value on, because when you watch him play like that, and in normal circumstances on the contract, you say, well, when he's fit and good, he's like a £50 million centre forward. Yeah. But then you've got the injuries and you've got the contract. It's very, and you've got our financial situation. Like, will 25 million be good, or is that too low, or what?
It's too low. There's a big difference between what he's worth and what we should ask for him.
Yeah,
and that's the important thing.
Do you mean in regards to that he's worth a lot more than 25? Which in which regard I would say I agree with that. But the thing that I feel with me is I could see him like someone like West Ham, and someone like that would come in for him, and they get an absolute bargain. That's the thing that hurts me feelings a little bit about this, you know, because what team are you going to get to come in? Look, let's face it, he's not going to go to a top 6 side. No top 6 side is going to come and take him.
Spurs.
Possibly Spurs, but I mean, Richarlison, Newcastle.
He could go to Newcastle and be their new Callum Wilson when Wilson leaves.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. But I just think you'll have a load of mid-table clubs who come in for him, and you've got change of manager there. You mean someone like Bournemouth? Look at Bournemouth, these Wolves as well. Those kind of sides, I think, would be looking in the market thinking, do you know what, we could probably go and get it.
Wolves.
No. Let's not
Right? If I was him,
Wolves are skin to the nose, I think, at the moment.
That's an excellent point as well. Yeah, but
I just think, like I was saying before, you look at Crystal Palace, for example, and people laugh at them because they say, oh, if you want Eze, you've got to pay 60 mil. You want Ollie's, you've got to pay 60 mil. That doesn't mean we think he's worth exactly 60 mil. Yeah. It means this is the value. This is how much you'll have to pay to extricate him from our club.
Well, can we do that with our finances?
I think we have to try and do that as much as possible because teams get desperate in the summer. And he's got a quality that not everybody has, and he's actually gettable. And I mean, we've seen with some of the strikers that teams have been paying money for. Rasmus Højlund, for God's sake, he might be good, but the amount of money, Jesus. You know, teams are desperate for strikers because for some reason, proper number 9's a rare commodity at the moment. I think we've got to take advantage of that as much as we can.
I think we'll wrap it up there. Anyone got any other thoughts on the game? The referee was hilarious at times today, wasn't he? The corner we didn't get in the second half was...
Yeah, genuinely, the first time I've ever seen a football game where the referee was on the beach as well as the players. He didn't give a shite what was going on. He could not care less. He just waved his arms a few times.
For being shoved in the face, didn't he?
I think he spent the second half on the TUI app. I don't think he was actually watching.
All we'll say is it's been a long season. It's been a long year watching Everton at home. But we've got to the end of it relatively painlessly. So nobody's taking solace in their loved ones, which is a good thing. As we often touch on post-match, right? It's a good thing. What I will say is, despite his faults, and there are faults there, Sean Dyche has built a platform now for Everton to build on for one more year to get into that new ground.
Right? With what, though, Keith? What's he got to build it with? What's he got?
Well, there's obviously going to be player sales this summer, right? Branthwaite's probably going to go. Onana might go.
Hopefully.
If somebody wants somebody to wave at the crowd at a corner, right? There will be money come in. There will probably be a small amount of money go out, right? But what we have to fathom is he's taken a side largely untouched for 2 years that have been in a final day relegation battle. A side that has struggled all season long, and without the points deduction factored in, he's turned them into a mid-table team, right? That's a platform. That's something to build on. I would take another 2-3 years of mid-table mediocrity of Everton to get established back to where they need to be, right?
I'd take 2 and 3 years of us being in a Premier League side. Mid-table's miles away from us, Keith.
Well, we should be a mid-table team now.
We are a mid-table team in our opposition.
Right?
We are.
Yeah, of course we are.
Dave, you missed this point earlier, right? If you take away the points deduction, come the last Sunday of the season, if Everton better Brighton's result, they'd have finished 10th. Tell me that's not a mid-table team.
No, the problem I have with that. No, the problem I have with that is, mate, the factual set. That's not factual. It's not factual at all, because everything that goes through is how Everton play.
It's hypothetical.
Exactly, it's purely hypothetical, and I completely take your point there. Look what's happened in the Premier League there. How many people said at the start of the season the 3 worst teams have came up, and all the way through, Luton have looked all right, Burnley are doing okay, and that's ultimately what's ended up. The 3 that come up, I probably see them in that similar sort of pathway. Made up Ipswich have come up. We don't know who comes up playoff wise, but still a priority for me is, regardless of how many points get.
Oh, it is. But
do you know what I mean? The fact that it's unknown to me makes me feel quite nervous about it, and I don't know if that's an Evertonian thing.
On that scepticism then, Dave.
Yeah.
How many games this season have Everton won to nil?
11, something like 10.
13.
Is it all 13?
13 games Everton have won to nil.
So go back to your point then, when you said if Branthwaite's gone,
Or, sorry, no.
Do you know what I mean?
No, I'll retract that. Jordan Pickford's had 13 clean sheets.
Yeah.
Right.
No, but you go back to that
So we haven't won them all. There's been a couple of 0-0s thrown in, right? But 13 games where we haven't conceded a goal despite everything against us. Tell me that is not progress. Tell me that is not a platform that Everton can build on.
No, it's right, but that doesn't carry on. If Branthwaite goes, like we've said, it's probably going to happen. I'd say most Evertonians, you think he's probably going to go. So that starts, absolutely, I agree with you. But who'd you put in there instead of him that keep you that sort of record?
Then you replace him.
With who? And with what?
Well, whatever
Michael Keane.
whatever you sell him for, you take that money, you find another player with potential, and you bring them in.
Right? Everton on that though.
Is it just Jared Branthwaite that's kept Everton clean sheets?
Well, it's not.
Who'd
you put next to him then? We got Holgate back.
Tarkowski's had a good season. He's had points where he looked shaky, absolutely, but he's had a good season.
Well, the only one else there is like
Jordan
Godfrey, though, isn't it? That's the only one who go in there. It's Godfrey, isn't it?
At the moment, there's centre halves out there that you can sign.
Right. I'm going to wrap it. This is like a weekly discussion, this. Like, we started off like no one's arsed, like this serious, in-depth footy chat we've done all season. Probably.
What score was the game?
We won 1-0.
I'm going to say before we go, Everton will not be in relegation trouble next season unless 777 or 777 or what you want to call them take over the club and we go into administration and lose fucking 9 points or whatever, right? Without a points deduction next season, Everton are a solid mid-table side.
Should we do our bet again then? Because we had a similar bet to this, didn't we?
Stand on that now.
There we go. We are not going down. We are not going anywhere. Everton are gargantuan.
We shall not be moved.
We shall not be moved.
A simply gargantuan institution.
There we go. We will leave it there. Cheers to Les, Ed, Keith and Dave. I think I've got everybody there coming on the podcast today. These two, what's going on here? But yeah, we'll be back for the final game of the season next week. Finish the reaction from Everton's trip to Arsenal, which obviously could be huge in the title race. But we will finish up here, up the top. We'll catch you again soon.